Well, it's certainly been a couple of days since I've seen one of these. It is a Magnavox ZV427MG9. Four-head hi-fi stereo with the DVD recorder built into it. This one has a little bit of a different model number on the back. I believe it's a reman unit. Let's see if I can zoom in on it and hopefully it'll kind of stay focused. Let's go back into the Manuela focus. So it shows it is a R ZV427MG9B. Normally it's an MG9A. And April 2012 is the manufacture date. Like I said, I believe this one is a reman. MG9B. There's a serial number 15225127. Looks like a standard MG9A from the back. Let's get it zoomed out just a little bit. Does the serial number line up? 15225127. I believe it does. So if you scan that barcode, I wonder if it comes up with the exact same thing. 5127. Is that what I saw over here? Yep, 5127. For setup or operating, call this number. Yeah, probably disconnected by now. Okay, this one comes with a note. So let's get it back in the Manuel focus, because when I set this thing down flat like this, the autofocus wants to hunt. Here is the note from John on Santa Monica Avenue in San Diego, California. Some obviously has been redacted here. Loved your video, and my unit was doing the same thing. Flashing lights on the front and no controls worked. Enclosed, obviously, is $300, and he did actually send some cash with it. Very nice. I did check it. It is actually real money. You can hold it up to the light and see, I believe, Washington's face on it. For repair and shipping. If repairs are less, keep it. If you need more, call me at 6453. There we go. 6453 for everyone to know this customer's phone number. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the top off of this thing, plug it in, and see what it wants to do. One moment. All right, well, here is the inside view of the unit. Pretty standard. I don't see anything awry at this moment. Let's take a look down here at the fan blades. It's got a little bit of use. Let me go ahead and get it into view. It's got a little bit of dust on the leading edge of the fan blade. So I'll probably go ahead and take this thing out into the garage, get the shop vac hooked up, and blow this thing out. But as far as the rest of the unit goes, it's pretty doggone clean. Hardly any wear on the pinch roller, any oxides, I should say. There's the audio control erase head. It looks perfect. Don't really see anything on the lower cylinder to speak of. Hasn't been used in a few days. These things get gummed up and you just need to spin them around a little bit. The bearings have a little bit of gumminess to them, which is pretty typical when they sit for a long period of time. I do see some kind of residue. I'm not sure. Looks almost like it's been moist. Probably a little bit of corrosion. Hard to say. Hopefully the cylinder is good. It does stop very quickly. I may need to go ahead and address the bearings, squirt a little droplet of oil into them. Loading guides, angle guides look good. I'm going to say this thing has very, very low hours on it, just based on what I'm seeing right here. Haven't popped the top on the DVD mechanism yet, but I thought I would go ahead and power this thing up and just see what it does before we go any further whatsoever. Okay, plugged in. Power has been applied. Let's go ahead and get it into a view you might be able to see here. We'll get the power light over here on the edge, and it is just blinking on and off. I can't tell if there's any kind of display whatsoever. Let me go ahead and power down the lights here. We'll put this back in the Manuel focus mode, and we'll shut off all of the lights And yes, it does have the blinking red light of death, which tells me it's got a defective capacitor in the power supply. The 4700 microfarad 6.3 volt cap is most likely defective. So let's go ahead and power this thing off. AC power has been removed. Go ahead and remove the one screw on the back here. That holds the HDMI connector to the back panel. Keep your screws organized so you don't get mixed up. We'll go ahead and disconnect the two ribbon cables, and let's just see if I can do this without getting my head in the way and without taking the front panel completely off. I know we're gonna have to pull it off, because if this guy is serious about this, we're going to do a mode select switch service as well. And the fourth screw is hiding right there. Okay, this should just lift out with a slight bit of encouragement. We'll go ahead and release the AC cord. And it is out of the way. The DVD mechanism is completely free from the unit at that point. And just exactly as I suspected, look what I see down here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on it. And we'll put it back in auto magical focus. And take a look at that filter cap right there, 4700 6.3. There we go. Kind of hard to see, but a bulged top on that one. Taking a look at the rest of the filter caps in the power supply, they look perfect. But as usual with these units, I'm going to go ahead and basically unsolder one lead from every capacitor, and we'll do an ESR check, because some of these are set up in a pi filter network configuration. When you see a coil, that means there's a capacitor to ground, a coil in series, and probably another capacitor to ground. So without unsoldering one lead of the capacitor, you're effectively reading the inductance through that coil to the second capacitor. So yeah, we've got coil, and then there may be others. But as usual, we'll unsolder every capacitor and do a test just to make sure everything is good, because we definitely try to get it up in here where you can see a little bit better. Hello, where am I? There I am. There is the intercon, there it is. And you can certainly see the top of that capacitor is bulged. It should be perfectly flat, like that one right there and that one, but this one definitely has a bulged top. Probably got a high ESR, might only be an ohm or two. It's probably not out of this world, but when it comes to switch mode power supplies, they need to have like a 0.09 ohm ESR. So we'll go ahead and test those and see what they test like. So I'm just going to say this video is going to be a long one, because I'm going to try to do it mostly in real time. I'm going to pull the power supply cradle out of the unit right now. And it does not want to cooperate in the least, which is pretty normal. Give it back, and then give, that one's just going to stay there. Okay, with the power supply unplugged, the whole thing can just be lifted out of the unit. Let's get that screw out of there and push this baby out of the way. One thing I always do when I'm working on one of these units is I will take a little bit of Scotch tape and I'm going to tape this down, because this has a tendency to want to fall out once you remove all 4 screws from the power supply board. keeping all the screws separate as usual. So yeah, once you remove that screw, if you don't tape this down, it will fall out and you may not know where it goes. That actually grounds the power supply board through this little, what do you want to call it, a trace, whatever, lead to the chassis when you screw this down. So kind of important. If you leave it out, I've seen rainbows appear. Not the good kind of rainbows, but the bad kind. So let's go ahead and I just got to pull this plug out. It's hanging up right there. I'll get my ESR meter out here. Buried right there. Power on. I always rotate this around to clean the contacts. And we'll go ahead and zero it out. And the main thing I want to check is the main filter cap, which lives right here. And it reads 1.2 ohms. That is terrible. So let me go ahead and dig through my capacitor assortment right here. 3300 at 6.3. No, sorry, 4700 at 6.3. Wow, what am I thinking? Okay, new capacitor coming on in right here. And I think this is the Matsushita. Go ahead and test it. And I read 0.02 ohms. 0.02, 0.03. What are we on this one again? Yeah, 1.2 ohms. Toast. That thing is history. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get one side of each capacitor unsoldered. And we'll go ahead and do ESR checks on every single capacitor on this board. Let me go ahead and get them marked off camera, and then we'll come back once I get ready to unsolder them. One moment. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure this is going to go horribly wrong as usual because I can't keep anything in the field of view to save my arse. But I've got the solder sucker warmed up here, and we'll just go ahead and pop one lead of each capacitor loose here. Doesn't matter which one, as long as it is actually isolated in the end. Alright, so one lead of every capacitor is unsoldered. I did not unsolder that cap. Someone may notice that because these are in series with each other. There's no other connection. Let me go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. A little bit too much. So these are basically, I believe, set up as just two caps in series. I don't know why they would do that. But they just wanted more voltage, I guess. But as you can see, that trace runs from there to there, and it has no other connections anywhere else. So as long as I take one lead loose right there, we'll be perfectly fine. Now, I did not go ahead and unsolder the snubber cap right there. That guy is, what value is it? That's a 10 microfarad. Gonna focus? Oh, I put it in auto magical. Hello, focus, too close. That's a 10 at 16, and the main filter cap does not need to be unsoldered, a 220 at 200 volts. So get the ESR meter out, and we'll go ahead and check every single capacitor on this board and see what it tests like. One moment. Okay, ESR meter is ready. Every capacitor has been unsoldered. Make sure we're at 0.00, and we are. So this is the main filter cap, a 220 at 200 volts. And I see 0.23 ohms, 0.22 ohms, perfectly happy with that. A 10 at 16 volts, 1.8, 1.9, perfectly fine with that. This is the defective capacitor right here. Checking the pad first, nothing. And the capacitor is, well, 2 ohms. There we go, down to 1.2. Toast. 3300 microfarad cap right here. Pad nothing, and the capacitor is 0.04. I'm good with that. Another 3300 as part of the Pi output filter network. And I'm getting a pad reading that I don't want. Okay, there's nothing on the pad there. And I get 0.04 ohms, which is perfectly fine for that. A couple of 220s right here, nothing on the pad. 0.25 ohms, I'm good with that. And 0.2, that's a 2.7. That's good for a 220. Let's see, this is a little 22 at 50 volts. Nothing on the pad, and 0.72 ohms, perfectly fine. A 1000 at 6.3 volts, nothing on the pad, and 0.07 ohms on the capacitor itself. Did we check these? I don't think so. A 10 at 50, 2.2 ohms, perfectly fine. A 1000 at 16 volts, nothing on the pad, and 0.06, 0.07, great. A 470 at 16 volts, nothing on the pad, and 0.14 ohms. Well, let's call it 0.13. A couple of 470s. This one is 16 volts. And make sure I got nothing on the pad, and I don't. And I see 0.14 ohms. That's perfectly fine. Another 470, however, at 6.3 volts. Nothing on the pad. And I get 0.27 ohms on that one. I might want to replace that one capacitor. I'll make a note on my cheat sheet. This is how I'm keeping reference with everything. I did pre-ESR everything, and you can see the values on them right there. So let's grab a new 470 at 6.3. I already have the new 4700 at 6.3. We'll test it one more time, and I get 0.03 ohms. Spectacular on that one. Let's grab a 470 at 6.3 and see if the replacement capacitor that I have in stock is any better. Unfortunately, I only have 470s at 16. I don't have any at 6.3. Well, the original one measured 0.27 ohms. Let's check our leads once again. Get this out of the way. 0.01. There we go, 0. This one reads 0.05 ohms. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and replace both of the 470s with 470s at 16, because I can get 0.03 and 0.03. I'm pretty happy with the rest of the caps. Let's go ahead and get these things swapped out, and we'll get this thing back on the road. I'll probably have to do a mode select switch cleaning. I want to service the DVD mechanism and probably replace some of the caps, most likely. I bet some of them are failing. Okay, solder sucker coming in. Hopefully you can see it here. That one's going to fall. They always do. All right, bad caps removed. So we'll go ahead and slap in 3 new capacitors. Hopefully you can still see it on camera here. Okay, whoops, my bad. One moment while the soldering iron warms up. Okay, soldering iron should be ready to go. Let's power this off and get it moved out of the way. Get my, what the, it's all tangled up, doggone it. Why is it so hard? Oh, jeez, it's gonna be all day. Why is it so hard to keep these stupid things untangled? Well, it's got the hot air blower, and I had the AC cord in the way, and blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on. All right, pretty happy with that. We'll go ahead and trim those leads. And then I will go ahead and resolder the remaining leads of the caps I unsoldered. Okay, that looks like all of them. Hopefully I didn't miss any there. Looks completely soldered. Well, we'll mount this thing back in the tray and fire it back up and make sure that it does not blink at this point. Then we'll move on to the DVD and the VCR and the mode select switch. Like I said, the list goes on and on. Okay, power supply board has been remounted. DVD drive is in and connected. Only one screw holding it down right there. The rest of it is completely loose. And AC power has been applied. Let's take a look at the front of this unit and see what we get. And I see dashes. That's good. Power on. And it does light up and it does stay lit. It's doing something. Fan is running. It's doing a DVD test to see if there is a disc in the drive. Well, we're this far along. Let's go ahead and see if it plays a tape and plays a DVD. So, going to get my capture device set up quickly. Let's see, back here. Let's see, out, left, video, and right. Capture device is connected. And then we'll get rid of this. Those are the caps that I did change, and of course I did label them all positive and negative on the back. Always do that just in case. Get it centered up in the screen here, just a tad bit better for you guys. Okay, here we go. Got to turn my telly on. Telly has been powered up. I've got my capture device set up here. Wait till I get a picture on the screen. Please bear with me. One moment, please. And what mode are we in? We are in the DVD mode. Let's open the drawer. And it does open. Perfect. And then I have a record test disc from another customer. And it shows it's trying to read the table of contents. Capturing in 3, 2, 1, capture. And it shows it is recording. Let's see what it comes up with here in just a moment after it reads the table of contents. This was a Magnavox MDR865H/F7 that I replaced the hard drive in and recapped the DVD recorder board in it that made this disc. It just went live today, actually. What is it? February? Wait, July, December? What month is it? Oh, July. There it is. Found it. Play. And it is playing the DVD. That's absolutely perfect. Somewhere around here, I actually have a remote control for a ZV427. I just need to find it. Okay, one moment. Let me stop the capture device and wait a minute. Got a box of remotes. Is that it? ZV427, there it is. I wonder if it has batteries in it. I'm gonna say probably not. I don't like to leave batteries in it. Oh, I did. Whoops, my bad. Okay, let's go ahead and stop it. And it does stop perfectly fine. Play again. Skip forward just a tad. And yeah, working perfect. All right, so I do want to go ahead and we'll stop the capture device here. And I want to pull this board out and check the capacitors on the DVD drive. But before we do that, let's go ahead and stop that. Capturing, stop in 3, 2, 1, stop. Okay, that is stopped. Let's go ahead and try a VHS tape at this point. Why did I stop the capture device? I should have let it run. Even if it plays, I'm going to service this mechanism. Here we go, tape going in. Ooh. And it does not want to spin the cylinder. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Nope. Yeah, it's really bound up. I think it's too tight. That's all there is to it. We can actually loosen this and see if we can lube up the bearings possibly. So let's go ahead and try to get the tape out of this thing. Eject. Please, eject. Eject. There we go. Okay, I'll try to do this in real time because I've done these before. I'll get this zoomed in on the center of the screen for you. And I think everyone can see that just fine. I'm going to power this thing off right there. We need a Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to pop the cylinder motor coil assembly off of the board. So this should just lift out of the magnet, and it does. We'll just let it dangle there for a moment, and oh yeah, that thing, look how tight that thing is. Okay, so I'm going to remove the actual magnet assembly. Let go. There we go. Okay. Make sure this goes on in the same orientation. So that dot right there has to line up with that divot in the head. Because if you get it wrong, bad things are going to happen. It'll play back and record a tape made on itself with no problem, but it will not play back another tape with color because of the chroma phase shift. It shifts the chroma 90 degrees per revolution. I don't know. But yeah. So there's a set screw right there. I gotta find an Allen wrench. One moment. Okay, I did manage to find a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. I'll loosen that up. And wow, still binding. Okay, so I'm going to take that top piece off. It's just a clamp basically. And we'll go ahead and lift this up. There's going to be a shim on the top. Right there. keep that handy because that goes on the top. There's probably going to be shims on the bottom as well. And yes, the shim is still on the shaft. We'll leave that right there. So why is this so freaking hard to turn? So that one turns. What? Why? When I put them together? Oh, there it is. There's the problem right there. Gunk. This is the rotary transformer. And there's some crud on it, which happens from time to time. So I've rubbed it off. Let's go ahead and put it back together and see if it spins. Oh, look at that. Down all the way. Spins absolutely perfectly now. Wow, is it ever going to stop? I assure you, it's spinning on its own at this point. So what I'm going to do is leave the shim on there. The shim is very, very important to get the spacing correct on the two halves of the rotary transformer. I'm just going to go ahead and grab some air. And we'll go ahead and blow off any impurities. Put the shim back up on the top. And you want a little downward pressure because you don't want this thing to spin too freely. Like that. I want to have just the tiniest amount of pressure. And now we have to realign this now. I said now twice. So I'm just going to snug it up just a little bit so it spins freely, but it does stop on its own. We'll put these two screws back in it. They're snug. We'll mount the cylinder motor, the driver coils back in place. And I left the screw loose enough that I can actually adjust the head switching location until I get a null effect. Okay, tight. So this should move very slightly with just, yeah, there you go, just the slightest amount of force. That's going to adjust the head switching location. Spins perfectly fine. Let's get this thing moved up where you can actually see the tape going in. Okay, here we go. AC power has been reapplied. Power on. Let me check the head to make sure there's no crud, no oil or anything. I'm just going to try to load the DVD at this point. I do not want DVD. I wish to have VHS. And, oh, still capturing. Great. Okay. Let me stop this and get a audio sync. So stopped and capturing in 3, 2, 1. Nope, still saving. Hang on. Okay, done. Capturing in 3, 2, 1. Capture. And it shows it is recording. Tape going in. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Will it play? Yes, it is actually playing. That is excellent. I'm still going to pull the VHS mechanism out of the unit and service the mode select switch, as well as test all of the capacitors on the DVD recorder board that lives right under there. That is actually the board. The caps are on the bottom of it. But as you can see from the capture device, it is actually playing back this VHS tape absolutely perfectly. So we'll do the standard things. Clean the VHS mechanism, the tape path, clean the rear rotation sensors, and the mode select switch, which is roughly right there. So let's get this thing pulled apart and do it. One moment. So let me go ahead and try and adjust the head switching pulse if I can. So you can see interference on the top of the picture. And interference on the bottom. And I believe that right there is going to be the perfect spot for it. I could drag the scope out. It's not that critical. They want it 6.5 fields before the vertical retrace line, or the vertical blanking. And I think it looks perfect right there, so I'm going to leave it be. So let's go ahead and stop the tape, eject the tape. Cylinder spins perfectly free now. Let's see, power has been removed, capture has been stopped. Move that guy up and out of the way right there. And sometimes you can actually get the Allen wrench in here. Oh, this is a long one. Okay, I think I got it tight. Let's see if it's actually tight. Oh yeah, that's fine. And okay, let's go ahead and strip this thing apart and get ready to service the mode select switch underneath. One moment. All right, so I don't know where I left off on this thing. We've had a fire just a little over a mile from my house, and lots of evacuations and warnings and blah, 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 but it's moved away several miles, well, like 100. So back on this thing, trying to remember what I did. It's been like over a week since I touched this thing, and trying to think. I think I pulled the cylinder off and got some of the gummy glue off of the inside of that. I know I changed the power supply cap down here, so let's go ahead and continue on this thing. I do believe my next step was going to pull the VHS mechanism out of this unit, so we'll go ahead and pop the front. Once you pop, you can't stop, kind of a thing. It's got all these little tabs that you got to pop off. And something fell out. What fell out? Now, on these units, oh, a screw. Okay, well, that sums it up right there. On these units, there's a ribbon cable right there that you need to unplug. You need to have very tiny fingers to re-plug it back into place. So set that out of the way. Remove the cross brace. So these are one machine thread screw, very fine thread right there. And then these other two are plastic thread. So the machine thread, remember when this goes back together, is on this side right there. And you can tell it simply by that one goes into metal, and then these two go into plastic. So continuing to keep the screws all separated in here. Don't worry about that. It's 18650 stuff. I'm repurposing some batteries. DVD mechanism must come out at this point, as in a previous video. Okay, loose. Unplug these ribbon cables. Verify that you do not have power applied when you are doing this. There's the power supply again. I know you. power supply connector unplugged. And I think I only put maybe 1 or 2 screws. Nope, only 1, just to hold it in place. Remember, the screws that go back in the power supply module are the 4 longer machine thread screws. Back panel. Back panel should come off. I believe if you do not take it off, it makes it incredibly hard to remove. So we got plastic thread screws that go into the jacks. See, that one's loose. Machine thread always goes into metal. This should be plastic. And yes, it is plastic thread. Don't know if you can see it that well or not. I should get a 4K camera and shoot all this in 4K. If anyone has any recommendations, I would really appreciate it. Well, get out from under my feet then, ding dong, if you don't want me to step on your tail. Fan's got to be unplugged. Sometimes when you unplug these fans, it brings the little plastic piece with it right there. So that's removed. Power supply is up and out of the way. Remove these 2 screws up front that hold the jacks in, or not the jacks, the buttons in place. Now these are very, very short plastic thread screws. Don't get them confused with any of the other ones. And they go right here and right there. And you do have to finagle these things up and out of the way. Kind of like that. And then there's a bunch of machine thread screws that go around the perimeter. And we'll catch that one in a minute. So I believe those are all, well, except that one is plastic thread. And that one goes right there. And you can see it goes into plastic. So there's this one screw right there. Let's go ahead and zoom down in on it just a tad. And it's got this little plastic washer. Maybe they were having issues. I'm not quite sure what the dealio is on that. But it's just a machine thread screw with a flimsy plastic washer down there. Okay, let's get back out into the regular zoom mode. Oh, we need to do the auto head cleaner test. Have not done the auto head cleaner test. Auto head cleaner test. Squeeze it, release it. That one's in acceptable condition. I'm still going to go ahead and remove it just because it's only going to get worse from here. And once it gets too worse, it will turn into gummy goo and it will damage the video heads. Well, it won't damage them, but it will leave a gummy residue behind. So that's getting deleted out of this unit. Okay, I think everything's ready to come out. I grabbed the mechanism right here and I just gently lift up, and you got to kind of tip it back because it acts like a fork right there. So once that's up and out of the way, I can kind of set that aside over there. We'll flip this over. 2 screws on the bottom of the mechanism. Machine thread on that side goes into metal. Be very, very careful on this one. You can see it right there, under the ribbon cable. And that one's going to be a plastic thread, more coarse thread, like a wood screw. Flip these wires up because they're going to have to come out of the board. So we can kind of just lift it up just a tad. Come on. I think that's probably going to be far enough. Let's flip this over. I normally just stick my hand in here and hold it up like that, and we'll go ahead and open the mode select switch up. Let me zoom in, and we'll try to get it on the manual focus instead of the auto magical, so it will not hunt. I just put my finger under that and very gingerly lift up, and then we can gain access to the actual mode select switch, as well as the contacts on that side. Okay, I'm going to pause this while I get everything necessary to clean the mode select switch. One moment. Okay, I think I'm ready here. Cotton swab, dry. Just wipe it around in here. That was the acetone bottle. I just opened it. It's sealed, so it's repressurizing. Acetone, cotton swab soaked with acetone. Remember, acetone will not damage these mode select switches. It will not eat the plastic like it will on the Sonys, like I have mentioned in the past. And obviously this George character right here that I'm going to put up on the screen did not watch more than one of my videos before he left like 4, 5, 8, 6, 2.5, 7, 9 comments talking about not using acetone, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that was in view. Stainless steel toothbrush, and yes, this is a newer one. I just want to scrub these up a little bit, make sure we get any oxidation, any corrosion off of it. Another cotton swab, just going to wipe it down. Another dose of acetone. I do like that. It looks very, very good. Like I said, I do like a little abrasiveness. I don't like it mirror finish. I believe the abrasiveness actually causes it to potentially clean slightly better. And now we're on to this guy. Let's go ahead and refocus. Focus. There we go. And okay, there, it's done. It does look pretty good, but I want to go ahead and clean the contacts very gently in only one direction. And we'll hit it again with acetone. It is silver plated, so I'm going to grab my thumb and I'm going to hold it down because it's only on these two little plastic tabs right here, and they just melt the end of it over. So I want to hold it right there, and I just want to very, very gently, you can see the angle of those. I want to bend them up just to add a tiny bit more positive pressure to it. You can see I bent them. It'll add more positive pressure at that point. Next, YouTube comment generator coming in. Well, the first YouTube comment generator was the acetone, and the second one is going to be dielectric grease with cat hair on the end of it, but it'll be fine. So an ample serving of dielectric grease. We'll move that guy out of the way. Is that still in focus? I'll refocus it. And we're just going to add the dielectric grease. And I just want to make sure that every single bit of metal is coated with the grease. Kind of like that. That looks great. And then if I can get this up here, we'll go ahead and Coat those with grease as well. Oh yeah, now you go back into place. Thank you very much. And can you see it? Everybody following along at home, possibly? Snap it into place. Distribute the grease by just running this around and around and around a few times. Normally I speed this up, but one of the commenters just recently is like, yeah, if you don't do all the editing, will we get more videos? And probably so, because some of the videos I do, I just don't have time to edit them anymore. There's so much going on. So I do like that. Remember, when you're finished, line up that tab with that little printed silk-screened circle on the board like that, because it's going to go into that hole right there that's out of focus because it's in the manual focus mode. And while you got this open, you could clean the infrared emitter in the receiver, but I prefer to do it from the top of the circuit board. So let's go ahead and I'll put it back in the auto magical focus right there and pull the ribbon cable down from the bottom of the board and try to get everything kind of lined up all at once. Can you see that right there? And it is seated, and I have not pulled enough ribbon from the bottom. There we go. That looks good. So I want to make sure. What? Really? Auto magical focus failed. Oh, there we go. I just want to make sure that I see that the pin, both pins are lined up on the bottom of the mode select switch, and they are. That's perfect. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's up. Let's zoom out. We'll lock the focus again. Okay, focus has been locked. Remember, machine thread on this side, plastic thread on that side. And I do prefer to put these in without power tools, especially the plastic one. You could go ahead and put the machine thread one in with the power tool. I have my little 1/4-inch rigid impact that I've been using for, oh, probably 8 or 10 years now. Still on the original battery. But you do have to fold this back to get it to go in there. And for some reason they laid it down and folded it over. Fold that guy over. And then this one, it just wherever. Just make sure the wires don't touch together right there. That's for the full erase head. I mean, realistically, who's going to use this to record a VHS tape in, what day is it? 2024? Yeah, who's going to actually record a VHS tape? Most of these are going to be used to copy VHS tapes over to DVD, or even just to play a VHS tape and then use the jacks back here to feed into some kind of a digital capture device to digitize them. So I'm very happy with that. Next, we're going to go ahead and pull the prism out and pull this little gear out right there that has the slots in it to make and break the infrared beam. And that's what tells the microprocessor if the reels are actually turning or not, because you can see it's connected directly to the take-up reel. And if you go to play a tape back and it plays for 7 seconds and then stops, chances are your prism is dirty or your infrared emitter or receiver is dirty. Now, the same infrared emitter is used to send the light beam or the infrared light beam over to this photodiode right there and this photodiode right there that detects the clear leader in the beginning and the end of the VHS tape, and it does double duty. I said duty. When you go ahead and you put a tape into it as you're moving this forward, this little plastic tab blocks the beam, and that's what tells the microprocessor, hey, somebody put a tape in this thing. Let's go ahead and run the motor forward and load the tape. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the chassis at this point I don't feel the need to have it just sitting up here all loose with the circuit board exposed. Yeah, and I don't need your input. No, I don't need your input right now. So let's go ahead and zoom a little farther out. Move stuff up and out of the way. And see if this is going to cooperate. And it fully cooperated in going back into the chassis. Very, very nice. I mean, do you really want to see me just put the screws in it? I guess. It's going to be a long video. Oh, cotton swab stuck. Dielectric grease. Ah, silicone on my hands. Ah. Okay, now these guys that have the built-in washers are the ones that go around the VHS mechanism. Hopefully you can kind of see where I was over here. Putting that screw. Well, you can't see it. What is in the way? There it is. Putting that screw in right there. Ding dong. There we go. Well, since we're doing it live, as Bill O'Reilly says, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. He added an expletive in there as well, I do believe. So next we'll go around and put the rest of these machine threads and the one plastic thread screw in. Remember, the plastic one goes right there. Don't populate this screw yet. That one is one that goes from the power supply board, as well as this guy back here. I don't think it's the end of the world if you miss a couple of these screws. Can you even see that over there? And I think I'm missing one. Oh well, I don't think one screw is going to be the end of the world, like I said. I'll tip this up. Maybe you can see it better. And so that's going to be the, I think it's the open, close, and the DVD select button, or DVD open, close, and eject. I don't, yikes. Good save. Ribbon cable's got to go in that little slot on this side. It's easier to do it when I'm not having to show it to the camera. Okay, that's in. Serviced. Still got to clean the prism and the other stuff. I am going to go ahead and permanently mount. Oh yeah, well, I was mistaken. That's where the last machine thread went. I thought that one got covered with the power supply, but I was wrong again. Okay, no leftover screws. Remember, when you put these machine threads in, these are the longer ones that populate the power supply. I'm pretty sure I told you about taping down this little metal ground tab right there in the first part. I think I did. If not, if you find a weird looking little stainless steel tab, that's where it goes. Okay, that is done. I can go ahead and put the back panel on it, put the front panel on it, and let's clean the mode selects, or let's clean the prism before we go any further. So I'm going to go and take this one screw out. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Are we on manual? Yes, we are. We'll put it back in the auto magical. Like I was saying previously, before I got squirreled, if anybody knows of a 4K camera at a fairly reasonable price that has the macro zoom like this one does, I would really appreciate it. So I'm just going to lift the gear off. Remember, when the gear goes back on, the conical side goes up like this. And then you can see that is almost perfectly straight. It does have a chamfer to it on the bottom of it, but I'm not too terribly concerned about that. So down inside this little hole is the infrared receiver, and this is the infrared transmitter or emitter. So I need a cotton swab, and I need to remove some of the cotton from it. And then I just got some regular old glass cleaner, ammonia free. I do not like to use ammonia, especially to clean like the laser lenses. So you can stick that through the hole and just clean the receiver and then clean the emitter. And I probably should have pre-done this. Remove some more of the cotton to dry the receiver and to dry the emitter. And now we'll get another cotton swab. And I just want to clean the face of the take-up photodiode. And then way over here is the supply photodiode. And off camera, I'll dry off the other one as well. Okay, those have been done. Next, I need to find a paper towel. I just happen to have a roll here that the cat has not destroyed yet. So I want to go ahead and just basically clean the entire prism. Any dust that attaches to this thing will actually diffuse some of the infrared beam. And that's a bad thing. I'll go over here where it's totally dry. Very shiny. Nice and shiny. That's the way we need it. I'm not sure what's going on in my throat, but might be the smoke. It's still smoky here. I've got the window shut, but it still finds its way in. Okay. VHS mechanism good. Let's go ahead and do a quick wipe down with a cotton swab. YouTube comment generator coming up in 3, 2, 1. Move this out of the way. Comment: you cannot use this to clean video heads. Well, I'm not cleaning the heads. I'm cleaning the upper cylinder right now and nothing more. I will clean the heads with them in just a moment. So I'm just trying to get any excess gunk off of the cylinder. Now I shall clean the heads with a cotton swab, only using this part way up here. I'm not using the actual ball of the cotton. Horizontal motions only. Very light pressure. I know you really can't see what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to run it around a few times, and now I'm going to clean the lower cylinder with it. Just to get any contamination off. Probably can't even see that side. Okay, heads are clean, cylinders clean. That part is good. Time for a bit more acetone. And I do know that if I happen to drop a droplet of it somewhere, oh, it's the end of the world. Okay, more acetone in the Pyrex dish. It does evaporate over time. So we'll just clean everything that touches the tape at this point. Fully raised head, tape guide, back tension arm right here, entrance angle guide and entrance roller, exit angle guide, exit roller. And I like to hold it still and then slowly rotate the nylon portion. Acetone will not eat the plastic. It will not hurt it in the least. New cotton swab. The audio erase head, which is the black portion right here. And you can see it's only populated, if I hold this at just the right angle, you can see it's only populated on the top. That's the audio track. Clean the whole thing. This is the audio control head. The top is the linear audio signal and the bottom is the control track that records a pulse on the head for the tracking to operate correctly. This is just a tape guide to kind of keep the tape somewhat centered if you have a tape that was not recorded in hi-fi. And pinch roller. Sometimes it's better just to take the pinch roller out and clean it, but a couple of cotton swabs was soaked with acetone gets a lot of the oxide off of the pinch roller. Once again, YouTube comment generator enabled. This one doesn't look like it's got a lot of use on it, but we might as well, since the customer basically gave me a open invitation to do whatever I want to do with it, up to $300 including shipping. So I'm just going to do the full cleaning on it for him, and probably I will go ahead and test all the DVD caps and replace the ones I deem as out of spec. So that'll make this video even longer. Yay! Cat hair. Even though I blew this thing out before I even started on it. Okay, very happy with the VHS mechanism. Let's put the DVD drive back in it, fire it up, and make sure that it makes a beautiful VHS 240 line of resolution picture. One moment. Okay, here's where we are. I did put the back panel on. It's the reverse of taking it off. Don't forget to plug the little cooling fan back in here. I have forgotten to plug this in, so I'll do it on camera, because that has bitten me in the bottom multiple times. Power supply is mounted in there. Now the DVD mechanism must go back in. Don't have to screw it down, but it has to be installed. There's something about communication, talking to each other, blah, blah, blah. You cannot use the VHS without the DVD at least connected. Okay, remember, don't unplug that cable. ESD. That's the DVD laser cable right there. If you unplug it, it's subject to electrostatic discharge unless you've already shorted out the solder pads on the DVD laser. So I think we're ready to apply power to this thing and see if it's going to make a loud pop or what. 1, 2, 3, please don't blow up. Okay, power has been applied. Fan is turning. That's a very good sign. DVD did move slightly. Power has been applied. I have the capture device set up. Capturing in 3, 2, 1, capture. And it shows it is recording. It's trying to read the DVD. I want to switch it over to the VHS. There we go. Let's just pop a VHS tape into it. Loads. Shows the play emblem on the screen. And it is actually playing. That is a Amtrak trip that I took in 91, 92. Maybe somebody sees the date and time I put on the tape occasionally. It's obviously either early morning or late night based on how dark it is. I know the tape is not actually that dark. I don't know which button is the fast forward button, or I would try to search it up a little bit. What about the remote? Hey, you can use the remote. There we go. Oh, it looks like it is early morning. I think we're up in Minot, North Dakota neighborhood, as I recall. One of the coldest places on Earth. I can't remember when, it was October or November, somewhere in there, but nevertheless, it is playing a SLP tape, or a 6-hour tape, right there. We'll switch it back over to DVD, and we'll hit the play button on the DVD. Play. And it is playing back perfectly fine. I think it's a copy of the same tape, basically. And I think this is the Amtrak station in Chicago, as I do recall, where we stopped at the moment. Okay, we need to go ahead and service this right here, DVD recorder at this point. Stop. Stop. Where's the give it back button? We'll just hit both of them. One of these is going to be stop eject. I think it's that one. Okay, very happy with the results so far. Once again, real-time videos. Power has been removed. Make sure you shut the power off before you plug in or unplug any of these connectors. Somebody asked me the other day about the possibility of opening the drawer on one of these units if the belt's broken. I think this one has a belt, honestly. But let me get this out of the way. It's all tangled up. It's hooked on the cross brace. So, okay, I'll get this up and out of the way. Hopefully the cat does not jump up on it. Hey, the cat's not under my feet. Where did the cat go? It's not under the pinball machine. I don't know where the cat went. That's interesting. So if you've got one of these units and you cannot get the tray to open, use these little sliders right here. So that is in the closed position. And then as I slide this back, no. Okay, well, that didn't work out. I may have to take the bottom off. I wanted to show. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll take the bottom off. So it's got two clips that you must release somehow. I don't think there were any screws to the bottom. Maybe we'll just delete this part. It is not going as planned. Let's go ahead and get the board out of it first. Remember, don't unplug that unless you absolutely have to. And you've taken the necessary ESD precautions first. Four tabs. And then this cover can be removed. We'll take the one screw out. Oh yeah, that's the problem. The laser diode is what actually, the sled motor that moves the laser actually works the drawer on this model, as I do recall. And so I don't know how that you would, we got to take this part out. Okay, there we go. Take that out and then release this tab over here. And if I let it go, it wants to snap in, so we'll try to keep constant tension. There we go. Now this whole thing, the little plastic tray, could be removed. And then here is the loading motor that moves the, hopefully you can see it, moves the laser up and back. And if I continue rotating, then that's what actually opens the drawer. Okay, so whoever asked how do you get the drawer open on one of these units when you cannot, there is no belt, but that is what opens and closes the drawer. Just like that. Okay, you know what, since I got the bottom off, I'm gonna pause and take this out and shop vac it real quick with the blower just to get, I see some fuzz down here. One moment. Well, I don't know if anybody noticed, but when I moved the mechanism, this was laying behind. This is a pretty important piece. This is the magnet that actually clamps the disc to that, I think it's steel or iron, something magnetic. So when you have this thing completely assembled, this actually slides into that slot right there and it keeps it from falling out. When you have it disassembled, then it has to go in that orientation right there. So the magnet has to face down. If you look at it, you'll see there's the magnet right there. It has to face down. And so as long as the disc is clamped, let's see if I can get the loading gear in position. So there's the tray opening. So what it does is it drops the mechanism down. And then as I move it, it raises, hopefully you can see it, the mechanism up, coming up, coming up. And then the disc is clamped. And there it's unclamped. So now it won't fall out if I flip this thing upside down. I do need to clean the optical pickup, and we'll go ahead and test ESR all these capacitors. But I'm going to go ahead and pop the bottom back on this thing, and that should be much easier than removing the bottom from it. It should just be a matter of setting it down into place, and it should just snap. There we go. It is in place just like that. Let's go ahead and get the ESR meter out, and we'll test all of these capacitors. One moment. Okay, let's go ahead and ESR some capacitors. I do have my roadmap drawn out right here where I've labeled all the values and the orientation of all of the capacitors. It's on the same sheet that I used for the customer's power supply right here. And we'll go ahead and ESR all the caps before and after that I deem appropriate for replacement. ESR meter, power on. I always clean the leads, the contacts. People have asked me, where do I get these leads at? And I think they're Keyence. 1169A or B, I think is the number, possibly. So I've got 0.07 ohms. I'll zero it out, 0.00. And we'll start down here. 1.5, I do not like that. Sam I am. Put a red mark on that. 47 at 16 volts. 4.4, I do not like that. 47 at 6.3, I do not like that. 330. The first one was a 330. 0.3 ohms, I'm okay with 0.3. These are all 330s going up the side here. 1.4, nope, not going to fly in my book. 0.3, I'm okay with 0.3. 0.3 again. 6 ohms, 5.9, no, 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 no. Bad. 0.3, I'm good with that. And a 47 at 6.3. 6 ohms. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I'll do it again. There we go. 5.9 ohms. Bad. Maybe 1.5 ohms I would accept. Much over that, no, it's toast. That one's toast. Wow. Maybe I just recap the whole board and color a day at that point. Bad, 6 ohms. 0.6, I'm okay with 0.6. Wow. 3 ohms, nah. No, I'd like to see half of that. Can you even see that? It's wandering off of the board. Can I get connection, maybe? I'd like to see less than 0.6. I'd like to see about 0.3. Yeah, 0.39. I'm barely okay with 0.39. 0.42, not that bad. 3.7, 3.8, bad. 4.4, bad. 5.7, bad. These things are toast. Bad, bad, bad. You're a bad capacitor. Okay, I think I ESR'd every capacitor on this board, and I just think for sanity, I'm just going to go ahead and change them all. Okay, so I did go ahead and write down all the values. I re-ESR'd all the capacitors and put the values down on the paper that I have that will be returned to the customer for prosperity. And so I think, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and change every cap on this board at this point, just because I've got so many bad ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 bad ones out of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, I think it is in need of a complete recap. So I'm going to go ahead and populate the capacitors in my egg carton and get it ready for complete cap replacement. One moment. Okay, so I've got all my capacitors ready to go right here. I've got the 330s at 6.3. These are the 100s at 6.3. That's a 47 at 16, and these are the 47s at 6.3. And so this is my inventory right there. There are 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 capacitors total. Now, I went ahead and I drew this little imaginary line right here. Every capacitor basically north of this line can be stood up. I don't have to bend them over. Every capacitor under here must be laid down flat because it, let's see, when you fold this board over and remount it, like so, you only have a certain amount of clearance right here once you put this metal shield back in place. So if you take this and hold it and flip it over like that, then these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 capacitors do not need to be laid down flat. All the other ones actually do. So keep that in mind if you're going to recap one of these boards, that some of the capacitors must be laid down flat. And so when you're dealing with like this capacitor right here, you can just lay it down in basically this orientation on the board. Of course, it'd be right there. Now, you can't do it on these because there's not enough room. And there's really not enough room to stand it up because of the height of the replacement capacitor. So, knowing that the negative lead is on the right-hand side, you have to lay it down flat and basically bend the leads. Bend that one about 3 millimeters from the case, and then this one about 6 or 7 millimeters from the case, and make a 90-degree turn and lay these down in this orientation like that. This one can be laid down, even though it's the wrong value. It can actually just be laid down flat like this, and this capacitor can go over here on that side like that. This one, I believe, I like to lay it. I don't like to lay the caps where there's other components. You can see all the other components right there, all the little resistors are 425, 401, 405, and those are unpopulated. I don't like to lay the caps over other components because it could actually create capacitance. So with this capacitor, I'll probably go ahead and lay it down in that orientation, and then with that one, I'll lay it down like that. And with this cap, I'll probably lay it down there. This one will probably go over in that orientation. I don't know. I'll kind of wing it. I've done it several times before, and I'll do it several times again, hopefully, God willing. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get all these caps off of the board. Get it here where, because it will walk around. I guarantee it. So, once again, roadmap laid out, all caps marked, orientations and values. And I did go ahead and ESR them again and write down the values. I will ESR them once again once the new caps are in, and hopefully we have improvement on every single capacitor, and if not improvement, we have an equal to the old ESR. Okay, let me find my heavy duty pliers, my Harbor Freights. I thought I had a skinnier set. Well, I wonder where they, is that, no, that's not going to do it. Nope, that's not them. I thought I had a skinnier set somewhere. I wonder where they might have walked off to. Don't try to use like these. Those are way too skinny. They'll slip. One slip and you damage one of these tiny little surface mount resistors or capacitors. So, yeah, I wonder, well, whatever. That's the way it goes. All right, so I am going to go ahead and turn this just for my benefit a little bit. So basically, I'm just taking the pliers, holding the capacitor, and we're going to put downward pressure, and we're just going to do a twisty until we fatigue the leads. I found this is the best method that I can come up with. So here we go, first capacitor, and it is completely off of the board. No damage to the board at all. And we'll just do the rest of them in the same manner. Okay, all the caps have been removed. I need to go ahead and warm up the soldering iron and strip all of the old leads off of the board before we pre-tin and get it ready for new capacitors. Okay, soldering iron is warmed up and ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and scrape the old leads off of the board. Normally they come off very peacefully, just with a little bit of added solder. You can typically get about 6 or 8 of them stuck to your tip before you have to fling them off and wipe your tip off again. Normally I always miss a couple of them, so I like to go back through and take a look just to make sure I got everything. And next we'll get the solder sucker warmed up and we'll clean all the pads and add solder to one side only. You'll see why in a moment. Oh, there's the one I missed. I know I missed one. And I missed one, unsoldering. Way to go. Okay, I like that. Let's go ahead and zoom in and get a closer look. And there we go, we got focus. So the main things I want to look for are things like this. Let's get a little flat blade. That's a Phillips. Is that a flat blade? That's a flat blade. So the main things I want to see are, let's see, where am I? I can't find myself. Right there. I want to scrape that off the board because I don't want any conductivity. That one will be fine. Once I heat it up, it'll melt. I don't want any solder splashes. Now I do believe that a couple of these were actually leaking electrolyte, because you can see how dark they got when I cleaned them. So I'll probably go ahead and get some acetone and just give these a scrub up and yeah, get the corrosion off the board. Might as well clean them all because we're here, right? All right, I'm going to call that good. Let's go ahead and apply solder to one side of each pad now. Well, stop getting under my feet then if you don't want me to step on you. Ding dong. All right, how many did I miss? That is the question. Okay, so for the next part, it helps if you have these really fine little pliers and really fine little flush cutters, because I'm going to start with the 47 at 16, and that one goes right there. So I'm going to lay that one down in this orientation. So I want to take and bend the leads at 90 degrees. And then I want to cut them off and just let it stand up just a hair above the board. And I want to spread those out just a tad. And we'll see if I can do it left-handed. I don't think I can. I'm right-handed, but we'll try. So I'm going to just stick that one right there and heat that pad up until it takes. And so the capacitor is effectively attached with one lead only at this point. I'm going to add fresh solder to the other lead. Once again, the bigger the glob, the better the job. And add more solder to the first lead. So that one is attached. Next, we've got a 330 at 16 that needs to be laid flat once again, but I think this one is going to go in this orientation because I see the little coil right there, and Let me get it up where you can see it a little bit better. I could actually zoom in. There we go, and I'll put it in manual focus so it will not hunt. So yeah, I think this one's going to go in this orientation. So I'm going to bend the leads down at a 90, just like that. And then I'm going to cut them off. The first pad is attached. Second pad attached. Let it cool for just a few milliseconds. And more solder on the first pad. So those two caps have been attached successfully. And next we'll go with a 47 at 16. Just want to populate this neighborhood first. Bend at a 90, a little tiny gap right there. I realize it's going to be out of focus just a tad because I have it in the manual focus mode. I should have went the other way. Doggone it. Well, we'll save that one for later. So, once again, we'll bend them at a 90. Like to leave about a millimeter gap in between the cap and the board. Stand it up just like that. That one has been attached. Now a 330 that needs to go in this orientation right there. Small gap in between the capacitor body and the circuit board. I didn't spread the legs. This is why it takes so long to recap one of these things. Hopefully my head is not in the way. There we go. That one is attached. And so every capacitor should be stood up off the board by a very, very small amount. I can see light under every single one. And that is going to eliminate any stray capacitance. Now on to these guys over here. I think I'll start up here on this one, which is a 330. So knowing that the negative goes to the right-hand side, based on that right there, the negative is on the right of your screen. So it has to go in this orientation right here. I'm going to bend this lead right there, and then we'll bring this one out about the distance I think it needs to be. Bend it at a 90. And hopefully you can still see what's going on here. Clip the leads. Attached. Apply solder to the second lead. Let it cool for 2.2 microseconds. And then apply more solder to the first lead. Perfect. I like it. And we'll just keep doing that for all the rest of these. Only two more 330s to go. Right here, that is. Is that still in view? Can you see it? Okay. And the last 330 going down here in the bottom right hand corner. All right, pretty happy with the results so far. So let's go ahead and move up to these guys right here. So these are a 47 at 6.3. That once again needs to be laid down right here. And we can just lay this one flat. So that's an easy one to do. Just make a 90. Give it a little bit of clearance so it stands off of the board. About like that. Spread the leads apart just a tad. I like that. Now we got a couple of hundreds at 6.3. Two of them right here. And let's see, those can actually be stood straight up on the board, so that makes life a lot easier. we can just go ahead and trim the leads with just a couple of millimeters, maybe 3 or 4. Spread them apart just a little bit. First lead down. And I missed the one I have to lay over. My bad. This one right here has to be laid down. And it's another 100. And I think I can get away with doing it this way because, like I said, I'm right-handed. Make a 90. A little bit of distance between the body and the circuit board where it's going to mount. Spread the leads apart. I didn't like that one, it was touching the board. So I did stand it up very slightly. So we need to add another 100 right here. Spread the leads just a tad. Mounted and ready to go. Another 47 at 6.3. Way up here. Let's move this more into view for you guys. That one we can just stand up completely. Do have to spread the leads slightly. I think that should be fine. Okay, we are almost done. We got like 6 more. Let's see. Over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we have 6 more capacitors to land on the board. This 47 at 6.3 has to be laid down. It cannot be stood up. So we'll lay it over here. Let's see. We'll put it on this side. That'll be fine. And we do have this one that I did previously lay down that I need to straighten back out. It'll be fine. There we go. That'll go back here in the corner. And this will be the last 47 microfarad 6.3 volt cap that goes on the board. Hopefully you can see a little bit of that. up a little bit better. There we go. You don't want capacitance between the capacitors. Although I don't think it's going to matter on this. It's in the power supply circuit. Mainly if it's in the super low level circuit like in the optical pickup amplifier. You don't want stray capacitance. Okay, so what do we got? 330s to go. And then we are done. We can put this together and hopefully it actually works. Lead length is not terribly critical on this. Especially back here where I can actually stand these guys up. This is going to be a long video, let me tell you right now. Just the capacitor segment is 17 minutes. And that's just installing the capacitors is at 17 minutes. Negative goes up on these guys. Last one. That's what I was going to do. I went into the garage and I'm like, what am I doing here? The cat is almost out of food. I have a full-time live-in cat in my workroom that does not get along with my other cats in the rest of the house. And she just lays up here on top of my workbench and just has a grand old time. Okay, all the capacitors have been replaced. So we'll put it back into auto magical focus. That way I can actually stand it up and you guys can take a look at the soldering. I'm very happy with that. I don't see any issues. Look for solder bridges very carefully where, like on this capacitor, if it were to bridge, I think those are connected, but I've had issues where I've done a whoopsie doodles and I've bridged a couple of pads. I believe that pad is not connected to the capacitor pad. Give them a quick little just wiggly woo. Make sure they're solidly attached and that you did not forget to solder one lead of any of the capacitors, which I do not believe that I did. Okay, I think we are ready to clean the optical pickup and put this thing together and give it a try. One moment while I enable the macro zoom on the Canon. It's a Vixia HFR80. It's only 1080. Like I said, if somebody knows of a 4K camera that has the same zoom, macro zoom feature that the Canon has, please let me know. I would love to start doing these things in 4K for you guys. One moment. Okay, macro zoom enabled. Here is the optical pickup lens. Walkie-talkie flashlight coming in. Doesn't look too terribly bad. I see a little bit of haze and I see some dust specks. So let's get a regular cotton swab. These are actually Q-tip branded swabs that I use. I find them better than the generic knockoffs. Dipped in glass cleaner and I just kind of flung off the excess. And then we're just going to add a very, very light downward pressure to the lens. And you want to go in circular motions only. And I'm rotating the cotton swab. You see the cat hair stuck to it right there. Barely putting any pressure on the lens itself. Now to the dry end, the same thing. Very light downward pressure. Circular motions only. And rotating the cotton swab at the same time. Well, I think that looks better. With the flashlight, it looks absolutely spotless. I don't see any specks of dust on here whatsoever. One thing to do while you're here, which I should have done previously, is clean the turntable that lives down in here. Shoot, I already put the bottom on this thing too. Doggone it. All right, one moment. Let's get this drawer opened back up. Okay, I have the drawer opened. And so I'm just going to take the cotton swab. There's the turntable right there. And I just want to clean off the surface that the disc actually touches to basically get all the gunk off of it there, because it will actually cause the disc to ride up where the gunk is, and clean where it clamps the disc as well. I should actually move it over here a little bit for you guys. So this is a standard service that I do when I service one of these things. I think this is the first time I've shown this, however. And I'm just going to dry it off. And you can see that the black rubber mat that goes around the turntable itself is much, much better. There was a bunch of gunk and hairs stuck in it. So I did have to, one moment while I zoom out, macro zoom does become very much disabled. I did have to go ahead and remove the magnet assembly once again. And it just goes in like that. I'll close the drawer and I'll slide the tabs over to move the optical pickup back into position here. And I know it's not macro zoom enabled at this moment, but I just want to make sure I did not touch it with my finger. And it looks good. Okay, let's put this thing back together. Zoom it out a little more so you guys can follow along at home. So basically all I have to do is line up the clips on this video and then just assemble it. There's not going to be that much editing. I don't have to play with the 5 times and 10 times speed modes. There we go, snapped into place. And easy wipe off the dust. Hopefully this thing passes successfully. I realize it's going to be 8/20/24 in like 3 minutes from now. And yeah, I always write the date. I try to write the dates. I don't do it on every single one. This is how it reassembles. So this is going to be a plastic thread screw. Keeping in mind, I never did disconnect the optical cable. So the cable has a little cable stay that it goes in. So it goes in those 2 prongs right there, and then the AC cord goes in this side. Why'd they do that? That just does not make sense to me. So the grounding straps go back on right here. This is a machine thread screw. It goes into metal. Not going to tighten it up yet. This one over here is a plastic thread screw. If I can ever get it into my hand. Can you see that? Yeah, I can see it. If I can see it, you can see it. Then I'll tighten this one up. One more machine thread screw goes in right there. Okay, I am very happy with that. Let's throw this thing back together. Let's clean off my workbench. There's like 300 pounds of other garbage on here now because of all the work that I've been doing on this thing. Okay, one moment. Okay, here we go. New, well, rebuilt DVD mechanism going in. Should I say rebuilt or refurbished? So let's go and mount the screws first. These are the 4 long plastic thread screws. And I'll show them to you. They look like that. I had a guy send me one of these one time. He had these left out, and he had like drywall screws in here, and I'm like, what the heck's going on with this thing? So the cord, I'll tip this up here in a moment. If I can get it to stay in there. Trying to get it attached. There we go. Okay, so, and I don't know why they did this, but they run the AC cord right next to the optical pickup in a different little channel. And it's like, well, you don't want stray interference getting into this thing. I don't understand their thinking in this. But that's the way it came from the factory, so that's the way it goes back. Okay, DVD mechanism is reconnected. Let's go ahead. You probably don't want to see this part. We'll mount the cross brace if I can figure out the orientation of it. There, look, I figured it out. There we go. It's latched basically into place. Machine thread screw, fine threads. Go on that side. Then over here on the VHS, it does take the two plastic or coarse thread screws. Okay, happy with that. Ribbon cable. We need to reconnect that ribbon cable right there. And the easiest way I found to do it, which I won't be able to show you. Well, maybe I can. Let's jam something under it. Right there. It must be elevated to do it correctly. Yeah, I know you can't see anything. But there, it is reattached. When you put this back together, open the VHS door, because this little hook right there has to go up under this little flap right there. And I'm going to go ahead and stand up the fluorescent display, the VFD, vacuum fluorescent display, because it was tilted back. I don't know if I did that or if it came that way. So I'm going to begin by opening the door like I said, and then just pushing all this together. That should be good. Get my drill out from underneath it. And so it is snapped back into place. So there are a couple of snaps on the sides as well. And if you notice, that snap has a ground underneath it. And that goes around the video jacks on the front to keep a shield, a ground shield around it. Okay, well next I think we're at the point where we're going to plug this thing in. Plugged in, power on. And the next thing we do is try to copy a VHS tape over to DVD. So let me get that set up and I shall be right back. One moment. Capturing in 3, 2, 1, capture. And it shows it is recording. Okay, first let's make sure it actually plays back a disc. So I show loading on the screen. This normally takes about 10 or 15-ish seconds. Just making all the correct sounds. It made the beeps I want to hear. That is perfect. A little over 2/3 through loading. No, we're almost there. And it knows the disc, it read the disc, it saw the table of contents. So I'll just hit the OK button on it. And look at that, it is actually playing, I love it. Let's skip ahead a couple chapters. Working great. Once again, riding Amtrak cross country in 92, I do believe. Okay, next, gonna put that same tape back in it and set it up for a 1 hour record. Let me get this thing prepped and I'll come right back. One moment. All right, so I do have a blank DVD-R. It is a Philips branded disc. Going into the drive, let's put this in the DVD mode so you can actually see what is going on. That would be helpful, yeah, probably. And it should come up and tell me it is a DVD-R, I hope. Although these are blank discs that I obtained from a thrift store, like 40 or 50 of them for $3, I think it was. Pretty score if I say so, but a couple of them have been defective. I've had to use some other ones. I do have a stack of brand new ones that I bought. Let's see, what are they? These are Memorex DVD-Rs. And, well, I think it finished. I was busy showing you guys stuff. So let's hit display. And it knows it's a -R. In the SP mode, it has 2 hours exactly left. So I'm going to go into the record mode right here. And I'm going to change it to the 1 hour mode, the HQ mode. So let's turn off the display. Let us get into the menu here. General settings. I need to set the clock because I have not set the clock. What is it? January 30. It's July 31st. What the heck? I saw Jan on the screen. I got squirreled. July 31st, and it is currently the year 2024. And I believe it is a Wednesday. Yes. What? No, I want to set the time too, ding dong. Oh, I guess I have to keep going right. It is currently 12:55. I should go the other way. In the AM, we'll go to 56. Close enough. 12:56 in the AM on July 31st, 2024. The clock has been set. Recording. Let's go into the recording menu. Auto chapter every 5 minutes. I think that'll be acceptable. Auto finalize when disk. Let's go end of. No, we'll go disk full. Sorry, my bad. Disk full on. Wait for it to go away today. Dubbing mode. I want VCR to DVD. Yes, that is correct. And then make recording compatible. I still don't know what that does. Does anybody know? Let me know, please. Make recording compatible. Yes. So we'll go out of the setup mode. I do have a VHS tape in the unit right now. So if I go to the VCR mode, you can see I wound it to the end of the video. There's still a few seconds of feet left on the reel. I wound it to the end, reset the counter, and then I rewound it to 1 hour, close enough, 14 seconds. So let's put it over to the DVD mode, and I'm just going to mash the dubbing button that lives right here on the front. Here we go, dubbing in 3, 2, 1, go. And it looks like it's starting to play, and I do see something on the screen. Once again, an Amtrak trick that I took in 91. Oh, there it is. October 14th, 1992. Shot this on my brand new Sony. I think it was a CCD TR81. One of the first high-8 camcorders, the palm-sized camcorders. And since then, it's been copied over to VHS. And oops, I must be off by an hour on my time zone because I seem to be setting it at the moment. The flickering is, I used my Sony EVS 3000 high 8 VCR to copy it over to VHS, and it has bad caps in the time-based corrector. I never did correct bad caps in the time-based corrector, so that's why it has that flicker to it. But anyhow, we will come back in about 1 hour and check on the status. For you guys, it'll be like 1 moment. Well, I just missed it. It was like 30 seconds late. But it is writing the data to the disk. It did finish recording 1 hour, 1 minute, and 10 seconds. It recorded onto the disk. It is telling me to please finalize the disk when the writing is completed before playback on other DVD players. So you can play this disc back on this machine. or maybe another Magnavox ZV427, and write other materials onto it until you finalize it. So once you finalize it, that's it. It's write protected at that point, basically. So I'm going to go into setup. So look at, there's an empty title form. Oh, that's 4 minutes and 34 seconds I have left on the disk. So I could record 4 minutes and 34 seconds back onto this disk. So how do I get out of this? Disk menu, display. Why is nothing operating on here? Stop. Oh, stop. Okay. So now that I stopped it, we'll go into setup and we'll go to disk edit and finalize disk. What is disk protect? I've never seen that. What does that mean? Okay, here we go again. Disk edit will finalize the disk. If you know what disk protect means, I mean, can I scratch it and it'll still play? I don't know. But here we go, finalize disk. This will take a few minutes in real time. I'll go ahead and set the microphone here and let you listen to the drive. Okay, well, it did say the disk is finalized at 100%. And so I do see empty title down there right now with no time remaining, which means you cannot write to this disk once again. So the VHS just stopped. I'm going to eject the tape out of it. And I'm going to eject the disk. And then I'm going to move the microphone and let you listen to the sounds it makes as it reads the discs, or the disc. Now, the sounds I know that are conducive to a good machine, it'll read the disc and then it'll go beep boop, or boop beep, boop beep. So listen for that. And if I hear that, I know it's going to read the disc. There we go. Closing the drawer. There's the two beeps. Now I'll put the microphone back up on my shirt so you can actually hear me. And we'll hit the OK button to play the disc. And the disc is playing. Do I have sound? Let me get my remote. And I do hear sound. That is excellent. Once again, October 1992. I recorded this 8mm tape and then copied it to DVD sometime later. But we'll skip ahead a couple chapters and make sure that it does actually skip ahead, and it does. So I'm very happy with the repair on this unit. The customer just basically gave me cash and said, do what you need to do. Well, I'm going to basically do everything I need to do to make this thing work. Well, I think that's going to be it on the Magnavox ZV427MG9A. And let's see, where was this one even sent in from? This one's actually from San Diego. There's the message, and then there are the notes I always make when I replace capacitors, and I do return this back to the customer. Go ahead and leave me a question, a comment, a concern down below, good or bad. I try to respond to the comments when I have time. While you're down there, if you could please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It really does help my channel grow. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at NorCal715. You can email me, norcal715videos@gmail.com. As of right now, the end of July, 1st of August, 2024. Still, leave me a comment if you want me to get back to you in a timely fashion. I have answered a few emails. It's just I don't have time, unfortunately. Remember, with your help, we can try to keep these things out of the landfill, out of the recycle bin, and out of the e-waste facility. Everyone, once again, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I know it was a long one, but you guys like the unedited, basically uninterrupted, no time-based correction videos. Once again, I hope you enjoyed it. Everyone have a great day. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.